All right. Good morning, everybody. Hope you're having yourselves a fantastic start to your AM. Happy Tuesday. Hope everyone had themselves a great weekend. And yeah, great to be back here again this morning. I had a few technical issues there yesterday morning. It was honestly too early for me to fix them before the stream. So appreciate everyone, giving me the time off. Hopefully my computer fan basically doesn't break apart here while I wait for the replacement part to come in. So hopefully no issues. But if you start to hear what sounds like a death rattle, it's probably not the market. It's probably just my computer. So hopefully we don't have too many issues here today. All right. So first things first, right? We've got a relatively interesting economic calendar here this morning or this week in general, I would say, right? We've got jolts here today. We've got obviously crude oil inventories here tomorrow. We've got the interest rate decision here tomorrow. We've got PMI, right? Nat gas fine Thursday, and then Friday, right? ISM and unemployment. Obviously, the big one there is going to be the interest rate decision, right? We had that whole visual, if you want to call it that, last week of like Powell and Trump, in their hard hats at the Federal Reserve construction site, and the big smack on the back and all that kind of stuff. So I think that there's probably a little bit more interest in this rate decision, right, than we've seen in a little bit of time. There's definitely a tremendous amount of pressure on Powell to cut rates here. But he seems to not be playing chicken effectively, which I think is pretty funny. So who knows, right? I think obviously that indecision, right, or maybe that lack of clarity is making it a little bit choppier, a little bit bouncier across the board for markets. And then just to kind of add on to that, right, we've got basically earnings season here kicking off in full effect. We've got Apple reporting here later this week. We got Microsoft reporting here tomorrow. We're gonna have a few other tickers, right? So there's a lot of headlines. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of I don't know, like sludge to get through, basically, right? Like there's not very much enthusiasm. There's not a tremendous amount of like momentum here yet. And we've got all our ducks lining up in a row here to think that we should have a catalyst that either creates a short-term kind of creation, right, or enthusiasm, right, creates that short-term enthusiasm, or right, we can create that longer-term narrative if we start to get rate cuts or like a change in dynamics here. Anyone else having sound issues here this morning? Okay. All right, Sonia. So yeah, must be an issue on your end. It might be muted somewhere. Maybe you've muted me specifically inside. Obviously, can't hear. That's terrible advice anyway. But yeah, good luck. All right. You can always check the YouTube, Sonia. All right. So yeah, we have the potential for price action to maybe give us like a little bit of momentum, right, or like a level of enthusiasm here, but I'm not going to believe it until I see it, and I'm also not going to try to like front run it. I think, right, that I think that's ultimately where things are going to get expensive and potentially where like I have a disproportionate risk to drain mental capital versus anything else. Yesterday, although like I would have really wanted to have traded, I think it would have been like a really draining session, right? You're not really getting any consistent price action there. You know, the one setup that you do get later in the morning ends up being a pretty aggressive fake out. So, you know, there's a lot of reasons to be, I think a little bit protective here. And I think that that continues to probably be the narrative until I can establish some sort of level of enthusiasm. Now, the day going into FOMC or like the run up before all of those triggers, that should give us, like if we're going to get a positioning trade and we're going to get people to start to make a lot of bets, today should be that day. And hopefully we can basically like capitalize right on that move. So excited to see what's going on here. And yeah, hopefully we have ourselves a great day and yeah, we can get after it. So let's start mapping things out here. Let's figure out what we want to do this AM and let's go from there. No, guys, all my like setup stuff is just the default. I don't go crazy with the settings. If you want a more detailed explanation of my chart or like my various indicators or my setup, please just watch the videos in the Start Here channel. They'll answer all those questions for you and something that you can do outside of market hours. All right, so ES here, right? Red candle, increasing volume, gap up. Couple things to note here, right? This is increasing volume relative to the lowest full body day of the year. So like, or full body day, I mean like full day where markets traded from say, 9:30 to 4. This is the Friday was the second lowest volume day of the year based on those full day kind of conditions. So it being increasing volume here doesn't necessarily mean too much to me. Yeah, doesn't really mean too much. And then still made a higher high, still made a higher low. So I'm going to call this a week 2 out of 3 here to the downside with volume. I'll just call it with weak, pathetic. All right. And we're looking for basically breakout through 4660 or 6460. And then up towards like, 6,500, right, is probably our reasonable target here. Okay. And then to the downside, we're going to be targeting 410. So 6410, 6400, 6390, and then beyond. Really what I'd like to see here is, just strong volume showing up, right? If I don't have a level of strong volume here, or I'm not seeing a level of enthusiasm, I have to just wait it out and basically not be willing to force a trade in those conditions. Low volume price action at all-time highs, it has the potential to just be frothy, not to give me any element of conviction. So if price action isn't giving me a strong kind of consistent story, I'm not interested. And I'm not interested in wasting any mental capital chasing after price action that's honestly borderline pathetic. So let's make sure, right, that we're making high quality decisions. And today we're not optimizing for action, we're optimizing for high quality decisions. And the more that we can focus on that here today, the easier it is for us to avoid fake outs, easier it is for us to protect our mental capital. And when we protect our mental capital, then we put ourselves in situations where we can make logical and rational decisions and we don't have to force anything. So that's the priority, right? More than anything else. I'm not willing to compromise. I'm not willing to overtrade when price action gets stuck. And I want to make it easy for myself to be green here today, not to have to feel like I'm fighting, right, to try to get back to break even. All right, NQ, red candle, increasing volume, same context, right, as ES. but weaker candle shape. So again, right, week 2 out of 3 with volume. We're gapping up above that. So we have to maybe be a little bit concerned about that, right? VIX is at a 14.79. So implied range here today, right, is less than 1%. Our gap up here this morning, okay, we'll call it maybe like 0.5% here so far. So not a ton more implied volatility, right, left on NQ, and that certainly matches the narrative, at least not to the upside. So that certainly matches the narrative, right, that we're probably expecting here today, where we're thinking, okay, maybe a slower day. We've got a lot of stuff, but it's kind of like positioned later half in the week. So maybe this is still a day where things kind of like want to shake out before we want to go super aggressive. Yeah, I mean, if we do get to positioning trade, right, then maybe the most likely outcome is that's like a mean reversion type scenario here as well. Just thinking out loud. But yeah, let's see how this thing comes together. Again, it's reasonable to have a directional bias in both directions, even though it's a 2 out of 3 with volume. The volume there, not very impressive. And then already, right, we're opening up above previous all-time high. So all things considered, we're like in pretty good shape. I do feel like that 24,000, it almost seems a little bit, like it's too close to striking distance, not for necessarily it to happen here today, but I feel like we're going to get a kiss of that at some point here before we do get that like a deeper pullback. To the downside here, we're looking at a 23.5. And it's the same thing. We want to see fake out breakdown. You know, if I'm looking at indexes, maybe ES is easier to the upside, NQ easier to the downside. Like just from an implied volatility and implied range on our tickers, that might be a little bit of a better scenario. All right. CL 3 for 3 here to the upside. Don't like that it couldn't hold above Friday's high. You know, if that volume was strong, why couldn't it just close up that extra 3 or 4 cents? So that's a little bit of a concern. But yeah, I think for me, this is a textbook 3 out of 3, all things considered. And we're probably pushing up towards like that 70 handle. We're at 67.33, so we'll call it 67.50 as our starting point. And then again, plenty of space there to the upside. Maybe a little bit easier for us to try. No, I take that back. We're still in this like kind of bullshit range in CL, for lack of a better term. So I'm going to be a little bit cautious here, but yeah, definitely more of a bullish bias. And yeah, we're probably going to be targeting just that upper end of that range. Okay, Apple. Indecision, right? Doji decreasing volume, gap up. So week 2 out of 3 without volume. Okay. Tesla, green candle, decreasing volume, gap down barely. So we'll call that a 1 for 3. Microsoft looks like a fake out lower low. So red candle, decreasing volume, gap up, 1 for 3. So again, not missing too much here yet. Amazon, consolidation there, still inside Friday's range, but again, 1 for 3. Nvidia, 3 for 3 here to the upside. AMD 3 for 3 to the upside. Meta 3 for 3 to the upside. Netflix, red candle, increasing volume, technically a gap up. So 2 out of 3 to the downside with volume. So gap up, Ty, right, is it opening higher or lower than yesterday, right? So Friday's close here was 423. Today's open, right, where we're at right now, 436. So that's a gap up, right? Same thing there on ES. So what was yesterday's close is today's current open higher or lower than that? If it's higher, it's a gap up. If it's lower, it's a gap down. All right, so let's get after it. Let's see how things shape up here. And yeah, VIX, right? 14.76. So maybe not expecting it to be a crazy day, but let's see. How's everyone feeling this morning? Okay, so not a, by the looks of it, clean breakout here on NQ. Right, so not a clean initial breakout, so probably not a strong indication of trending price action there, at least not early doors. That 1 min pattern we were looking at, right? Not in play. Yeah, feeling good here this morning. Did a really nice run last night, so it was awesome. Saw a couple little baby bears. They're adorable. Which I don't know if that tells me anything, but it probably sets us up for like a really small red day. Like in the market, not on a personal level. Love that, Jerry. I do, Sonia. Yeah, at least not every run, but that one I did with him. I'm in Whistler, a couple hours north of Vancouver, or 90 minutes north of Vancouver. Okay, so pretty indecisive here so far. Don't think we missed out on Bupkis. And kind of what we expect. But yeah, he did all that was about 8K yesterday. And he did the whole thing with me. He loved it. Oh, let's go, Rich. Are you closer to Philly or are you closer to Pittsburgh? AKA, which one of the cities is your team? Oh, let's go. Go Birds. My man. Love that. Okay, so we're obviously oh no. So you're a transplant. All right. I won't hold that against you. Oh my gosh, Greg, just now? I'm sorry to hear that, dude. Yeah, so far, so chill. Not really any tremendous amount of enthusiasm here yet. The volume, right, also is pretty atrocious on this NQ. ES, it's range bound. Ranges are also pretty tight. Now 36 is okay, but it's still pretty small. Ooh, good luck, James. Yeah, so far so slow here. I mean, this is a setup with no confirmation. CL's maybe this could be our fake out lower, and then we get that like 67.40. That would be great. But the volume on the index is not good. Man, you guys are brave. Yeah, I want to stress this, team, right? Two things. A, we're traders, so we get paid for our decisions, not our time, right? Identifying what conditions are matching our trading style. If we have high probability conditions, low probability conditions, if it's a trending market, a range bound market, whatever you want to call it, right? Figuring out those things will save us a lot of money and make us a lot more money than just trading and hoping we can find it out in hindsight. Two, the way that the economic calendar is kind of stacked up this week is we're sort of setting up for a really big, just like month end trade. So really big action, maybe Thursday, Friday, right? Month end, month start. So the more or the crazier the consolidation is, or the longer the consolidation here is at these levels, the bigger pop we're going to get, the longer indication we are going to get of trending PA. And if we don't get any action here today, right, which it's sort of setting up as a little bit here so far, doesn't mean that we're like bad traders or we didn't get better or we didn't do anything good here today. We need to be, yeah, like holding ourselves like at a reasonable standard. And if we don't get a trade, something not a big deal, right? If we do get a trade, not a big deal. All we're trying to judge ourselves is, are we making decisions that basically maximize our probabilities of being green? And so we're trying to make every decision based off of that. If we're getting a non-trending market, then things are stuck and not moving, and like you're just not getting any element of enthusiasm, it's hard to want to be aggressive there because the expectation of making money is so limited. So we got to be patient. We got to be a little bit deliberate. We got to let the market shake out its weak participants here. And I think that if we are going to get a setup this morning, it's going to be a little bit later on in the session. Excuse me. Oh, sorry. It's going to be a little bit later on in the session. And yeah, like I'm not seeing any element of enthusiasm here yet that would indicate like, yeah, I got to be aggressive here so far, right? I think this is being sold a story where I need to be a little bit patient or a little bit more deliberate here. And I would like to see effectively one side fail or both stories on the indexes, and then all of our leading names to kind of sync up and become consistent. The general divergences, right? With like there being a lack of range or a lack of enthusiasm, right, on our leading names, just sets us up to be stuck in the middle, right, on the indexes. So if like Netflix and Meta are selling off, but something like Microsoft and an Apple, or maybe an Nvidia, right, are showing a strength there to the upside, honestly, like that kind of cancels each other out, right, to a certain extent. So we want to make sure we want to be very, very patient. I don't really watch the Dow. I don't really care. And I don't know if I understand the second half of your question, James. So are you asking, like, do I watch the Dow when NQ and ES aren't correlated, basically? I would not call this mooning. I think that is a very incorrect adjective to describe this price action. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm thinking here too, right? Like let the market kind of settle in, find that enthusiasm, and then we can get a breakout or a breakdown. But no, I don't, I've just not back tested my strategy on the Dow, so don't trade it. I feel like I get more than enough action. So we'll see what the market wants to do here. But yeah, no real indication of anything besides it being kind of just like a grind higher. That's fine, right? We would like to see that divergence between ES and NQ effectively resolve itself, and it's starting to maybe play a little bit of catch up here. But I'm not super enthusiastic about anything I've seen yet. Everything's moving at a snail's pace. So maybe jolts will put a spark into the market. So AMD, yeah, maybe would be a setup here. But I don't trade the individual names, Michael, right? I only look at the individual names to kind of get a backdrop of what the market is doing. I can't trade these with futures, right? That product does not exist. So I only look at those tickers or those individual names to basically understand like the internals of the market. Now, if you're looking at AMD and you have a setup on it, I'd be happy to give you some feedback. But at the moment, it's not something I trade. Yeah, basically, like these are the largest weightings, right? Especially in NQ. So if I have a consistent story across the board, then I know that I'm a little bit more likely to get a consistent narrative here on the indexes. And I should be able to get like a smoother or cleaner breakout or breakdown. When I get a really like we kind of looked at here earlier, where we got one ticker's up, right? One ticker's down. Right, maybe a little bit more up than down, but we're seeing like a mixed bag story, right? Pretty much across all of our names, kind of like a maybe a 60-40 split. So that tells us that, hey, there's not a consistent enough narrative or a smooth enough story across the board on our leading names. Our indexes are telling us differing stories. So we'd like to see these narratives to sync up and to become more consistent prior to being aggressive. Otherwise, we're setting ourselves to basically get chopped about and faked out. So kind of seems maybe a little bit more like the market is turning to the downside than it is kind of recovering here to the upside. So we'll see if we can get that narrative to sync up. But with 50 seconds to go, we potentially have some opportunities here to actually get some increasing volume standards. And these have, at least on a likely perspective, to be, or on a probabilities perspective, to be our second largest volume of the day. So again, reasonable. CL's just, I swear, sometimes the way CL moves, it feels personal. Okay, NQ showing us a little bit of weakness there last 10 seconds. Same thing with ES, kind of looking like a little bit of fake out lower. ES, the bearish fake out, probably tells me a little bit more than it does on NQ. So again, we're going to wait. This thing's kind of pathetic. Crude maybe giving me like a little bit of a cup and handle gap up. Yeah, I mean, so far so pathetic here. All right, guys, bear with me. I'm just gonna go fill up my cup of coffee. I'll be back in a second. I'm not gonna miss anything. Honestly, a little bit of deja vu, right? To yesterday, not a tremendous amount of enthusiasm, like a pretty weak open, maybe a bit of a failure. Now, if we can get this to go uh, green to red and then kind of sync up, right, with that data dropping at 10 a.m., that probably would be our most likely combo of enthusiasm, or like the most likely combo that would trigger a trend day type thing. To be determined if it's going to happen, but I mean, I think that's what I'd be looking for. Well, I mean, for now, I'm looking for some sort of indication that price action is breaking out from its consolidation. So, yeah, that would be for now visualized as an opening range breakout, and it would have to be on increasing volume. We're not really getting all of those characteristics. We seemingly are getting like 1 out of 3 or 2 out of 3. We're not quite getting the volume profiles and the candle shapes to sync up at the point we're looking for. So I'm not necessarily looking for a just a lower move. I'm looking for a like in either direction, right? I'm willing to basically play it in either direction, but I need to see some sort of indication of trending PA. Don't really have that here yet, and until I do, fine. CL, right? I'm a 3 for 3 here to the upside. I'm not interested in any bear scenarios here. Maybe we're starting to get an opportunity here to set up on ES and NQ. Good volume on ES. Now, main problem here is just going to be the target that we're going for. If this candle gives us like a equivalent type pullback like we're seeing on ES, then that's going to size us out of any entry, right? So we need to make sure that this thing is going to break down and we can go from there. I don't think that Take Profit Trader is the best prop firm. I don't think that like there necessarily is a best prop firm. I think they're all pretty similar. But yeah, I mean, go through the Start Here channel, and I've got a video on that. That would be a more appropriate time to ask that question. Right now, we're looking at a trade. So I'd like to put my emphasis and focus on that, please. Okay, so we're looking here, right? Second largest volume of the day. Really impressive. We've got about 10 minutes for this thing to break down. Maybe I'm going to push this to say 500. I think that's probably a reasonable target. Now, like I said, main issue here is we can't deal with too much of a pullback. Too deep of a pullback, and we kind of get killed out of this trade from a risk reward perspective. So if it goes past that 572, I can't use the aggressive entry technique, but then have to become the pullback. The pullback becomes a little bit more appropriate. The difference is like right on the cusp of 25. So we need to see like a retest of the low of the opening range. So my reference price would then be, say, 592. So I want to watch this pullback here pretty carefully. Two things I'm watching for. I'm watching the clock, right, to a certain extent. I want to make sure that I have like a reasonable amount of time left on the clock here prior to Jolt's data. For lack of a better term, Jolts could basically put a shock into the market, right? Could kind of jolt it into sort of shape here a little bit. And I want to make sure that I'm not getting caught on the wrong side of that. So if I do take a trade here, I'm going to be looking to get out about a minute before the data drops. The other element here is as this thing is pulling back into, say, 592 or equivalent, I got to be careful, right, that this pullback is actually happening with a level of calm, right, that it isn't basically ripping up into it too quickly. I would say right now that pullback has happened maybe a little bit faster than I would feel comfortable with. And what I mean by that, right, is that if I'm trying to think about the like speed of the confirmation candle, right? So the speed of the breakdown here on this candle, it kind of feels a little bit like this pullback higher is happening that like at the pretty much equivalent speed that I remember that confirmation. So I'm not seeing weak bears relative to that, or weak bulls, sorry, relative to that. I'm kind of being told that they're moving at the same level of enthusiasm, and that makes me feel indecision or whatever you want to call it. So then when you also pair that out with it being really close to 600 or to that psychological level, I want to buy myself time to really watch the reaction around that price zone instead of trying to force myself into an early and quick decision. So we're starting to stack up a lot of variables that are telling me wait, buy myself time. And so that's what I'm really focusing on here. Price action's not telling me I need to force this here yet. I've not missed out on anything. And objectively, price action has not hit my reference price here for potential entry target, nor has it made a lower low under my confirmation candle to have indicated that I need to force an entry here on the aggressive technique. So for now, I'm still very justified in being patient. And let's see if things can give me a little bit more information to, yeah, give me a nice opportunity for a downside play. And I'm not in a rush, right? I am not in a rush. Nothing here has necessarily told me that I need to be clicking submit right away. So be patient here. What I'm looking for, right? Order entry is set up. Give me a one contract play, 23,613 as my stop loss, and 92.50 as my potential entry target. Yeah, I am aware of the clock. I mean, guys, we've been talking about it for the last 10 minutes here, so we're aware of that. We know what the shot clock is. And even on that pullback, right, the one chance we probably had to reasonably execute this didn't pull back within our entry zone. So probably no entry here. Close but no cigar. Okay, CL still just kind of being fucky, for lack of a better term. And this is exactly why I didn't want to go bearish, right? 3 for 3 conditions. I'm being told I've got bullish price action. Big bearish volume can be capitulation as much as it can be a reversal volume. So for me, it's a low probability trade, right, to go short in those environments. And then just contextually, right, you're at the bottom, give or take, or you were closer to the bottom, right, of that range than the upper range. So limited value in chasing that. Yeah, nothing going on here yet. Dun, dun, dun. And also, team, right? This is what we're expecting here this week, right? We're expecting choppy, slow, stupid, bullshit price action until the interest rate decision is out of the way. So we're expecting slow price action. We're expecting boring PA. Like if this was if this was the fund I worked at, maybe not quite yet here early. It's only 27 minutes into the market, but I would say in about maybe 2 hours from now. So like kind of a little bit before lunch, that would be the time where we would roll out new upgrades and updates and do the sketchy changes we had to make sometimes intraday. This would be the day to do it. So again, I have a minute and 40 seconds until the data drops. Realistically, I don't think I'm going to get my move in that time frame. So I'm not interested in this trade. If my thesis plays out, then post jolts, I should be able to get an opportunity to get a look. If it doesn't, I'm going to save myself a ton of money. So no entry here, team, right? No interest in chasing this. So ES faked out that setup. I would imagine that NQ does the same. Yeah, boring start to the morning. You gotta be fucking kidding me. With zero reaction? What were we waiting for? Yeah. Like, oh my gosh, what a letdown. I honestly can't believe that. It's just the most the most pathetic 10 a.m. data I've ever seen. So for me, Ghost, right? It's like I wouldn't overthink it too much. I just like to see the price number instead of seeing too much more information. Um, for example, like if I'm looking at I just find the price easier. So if I'm looking at, say, NQ, right, and I'm looking at 62.92.50, easy for me to remember that number in my head. And then if I'm like on CL, I can just keep my eye out on here kind of subconsciously. And if it gets close, easy for me to get there. So if I've got like a price in mind, or I'm watching a reaction, or I'm whatever, I find it just a little bit easier to track. But truth be told, don't overthink it. Like, I'm not like the reason I only have these two here, where it's just the symbol and the last price, is because that allows me, or allows my watch list to not take up a huge portion of my screen. And so it keeps it to be like reasonably sized. So yeah, I wouldn't galaxy brain that. I don't think it makes a difference. Okay, so let's see if we can get a nice high vol breakdown here. We're looking for now a crack under low of day. And if we get increasing, it should hopefully get to outlier. And still nothing. Even CL stuck. So we're going to be getting paid to be patient here so far, team. No enthusiasm as of yet. No real strong indication of trending PA here. Kind of looks a little bit like an equal move higher, equal move lower so far. All things considered, so it's still reasonable to be patient. Again, I've not missed out on any opportunities to have made money here today. Well, yeah, I need to see more volume, and I need to see a breakdown under low of day. All right, so I need to see on EOS a breakdown under 64.25 to be bearish, right? Or I would need a fake out under that price, and then volume that looks like this red volume but green. I'm going to play a reversal. On NQ, I need to break and hold under this blue line, and I need to do so on increasing outlier volume. So we don't really have any active setup triggers, and we don't have any scenarios that are waiting for confirmation based off of those setup triggers. So now we have a setup trigger, right? Setup trigger is a breakdown through low of day. Confirmation, right, then happens on increasing outlier volume. So confirmation can now happen on either this 5-min time frame, right? So a close in 3 minutes, or on this 3-min time frame with a close in about 2 minutes. So we've got potential on either one of those time frames. Yeah, I'm probably not expecting it to happen, right? Truth be told, because we've just seen fake outs only so far this morning. So I'm not particularly interested in being hyper aggressive here when I've mostly just seen failed moves so far. Yeah, everything's kind of like cracking lower or flirting with the lows, but nothing on enthusiasm. Okay, it's not going to be enough volume for reversal here on NQ, so we can't play the fake out reversal. Maybe on the 5-min we could get there, although maybe feels a little bit unlikely. I would still argue that today's volume pace has been pathetic, right, for lack of a better term, and seemingly markets are not giving us that positioning trade here, at least not early going into tomorrow's FOMC. So I've got no rush. Again, very low probability environment here right now, at least for my trading strategy. So I need to be patient to let things settle in, and then can go from there. So yeah, not enough volume on that. I don't think we're going to get enough volume on this. I mean, 30 seconds to go, maybe. But again, seems probably a little bit unlikely. So just no point chasing dumb price action. Okay, not enough on the 5, right? No, slow. Yeah, might be coffee time, James. You might be spot on there. Yeah, not enough on the 10. So we're fighting for volume here a little bit, team. Is it unexpected? No, I think we nailed the analysis here a little bit this morning. That's kind of a hollow victory lap. Yeah. So the EU US trade deal. I mentioned this in the Discord. I don't know, maybe it was Sunday or yesterday or whatever. But we've just had so much of those headlines, and we've had so many deals get announced and not announced that they all kind of have like a half life, right? So once the market starts to react to one tariff headline, the next reaction is a little bit less and a little bit less and a little bit less and a little bit less. There starts to become like a little bit of a pattern, right? Pretty much all of these countries have been bowing to the pressure from the tariffs, and they've been given pretty good deals. And that's been, I think, priced into the market for a long time. So it probably would have been surprising, more surprising, right, if one wasn't announced. But now that we've kind of seen the pattern, there's deal fatigue. Exactly, that's the way to describe it. So we're almost being told, right, that the market is starting to get out of the cycle where it's relying on those headlines to be the dominant factor. What we're kind of starting to see here a little bit, right, is the larger reactions are happening or coming from comments or speculation on the interest rate, right? So on speculation that Powell's going to resign, or that he's not going to cut rates, or that he is going to cut rates, or whatever it is, that's where we're seeing the big headlines trigger for news catalysts. And so I think that's probably more what we're looking for here. I mean, at this point, though, yeah, that was really funny, actually, the bogus resignation letter. I can't believe how quickly people fell for that. This desire to be first, not correct, is crushing people. Well, they have algos, right, that are basically picking up stuff. So that's the big risk of algorithms. We had a fail-safe program at the fund I worked at that would liquidate our portfolio in 10 minutes, effectively, if we saw something crazy. So we had one scenario where we literally liquidated $100 million in about maybe 35, 40 seconds, because there was some glitch that happened that made the holding cost like really extreme for holding positions overnight. And yeah, literally in 40 seconds we liquidated like half of a Korean book. of our Korean portfolio. And yeah, so it's stuff like that. So there'll be algorithms that are like Walter Bloomberg. I mean, you guys all probably know who he is on Twitter, but I'm sure that there's algos that are like looking for his tweets. And the second there's like certain buzzwords or key phrases, they'll be firing orders based off of that information. So yeah, like there's a way to kind of screw those algos over once you figure out what their sources are. And so that's the risk of running them. Oh, Ajay, yeah, man, dude, it was crazy, some of the numbers. Like, so the way that we would talk about P&L in units, right? And a unit was 3.14 million. On the US desk, if we didn't do like 3 to 4 units a day in P&L, they were fucking pissed. So like our base expectation was like 14-15 million dollars in desk P&L on the day. That's kind of like base expectation. And so you got so numb to numbers so fast. It's crazy. Biggest P&L day I ever saw was on Brexit, and we were very well positioned for it. And across every single strategy, so globally, so we traded literally every market you could think of. We were up something like 280 million pounds on Brexit. It was freaking insane. We had like on all of our computers, we had our effectively like our own trading interface. And so it had all of our positions. You clicked on the name and give you the chart, the P&L and all this kind of stuff. And it would refresh every 30, 40 seconds. And it would update the new P&L and like positions that we wanted to trade and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, on that day, like you'd have 40-second windows where P&L would be changing like 5 to 10 million at a time. It was insane. Again, still nothing moving, like boring price action. Yesterday we had like a pretty decent fake out lower at like 11:15, right? So this kind of breakdown kind of seems like markets are setting up in a similar way here a little bit today. I want to be very very careful. So yeah, Clark, if you're ever talking about like if the fund owner ever texted us or called us and he'd ask, okay, like what's the P&L on the day or like how we do today? And we told them the number like in dollars, he'd be freaking pissed. So we had to like tell him in units. We could text him in units, but we couldn't say the actual number. Oh, okay, it was a 5-unit day. Oh, we're up 6.2 units or whatever it was. And then if it was a really good day, he would ask us for more decimal points. It was a weird dude. Now I'm not sure if I want that candle to be right here, Ajay. Like winning a trade feels good for 5 minutes. Beating the Giants feels good for about a week. It kind of still feels a little bit bogus, this price action. Ugh. It's kind of annoying. I mean, just so I was fighting back on yawn, but like I felt like I woke up with really high energy here today. I feel really sharp, feel really good. In the markets, the complete opposite. Oh man, I gotta waste a good sleep score here today. Let's take a look. I mean, my guess is probably no, Eric. Let's see. Again, kind of looks like a cup and handle, but it looks like it's just moving in molasses. Like, where's the enthusiasm here? Yeah, and like the breakout, that 2x breakout, AJ, it's not exactly a big range here today either, right? It's only 20 cents. So the fact that we're like stalling after a 20-cent move, probably a relatively scathing indictment, right, of the general enthusiasm here on the market. It's not exactly enthusiastic here today, and price action hasn't exactly moved in 30 minutes. Boring, I think is a fair way to describe it. Yeah, I mean, so back testing something just takes a lot of time. I'll be honest. The thing that I'm prioritizing right now is that one mid strategy we talked a little bit there last week. That's on my my priority list more so than trading gold. So like generally, like the reason, well, unfortunately, there isn't like I yeah, it's hard to create a script to do it. Just because the closing logic to backtest is really challenging with this opening range breakout technique. So like the rules for programming that makes it really hard to avoid basically like duplicating signals. So what you end up having to do is basically having to go manually back and fill it in. If it was as easy as just running a script, then yeah, I would have done that already and would have yeah, accepted that as a solution. What do you mean by struggling with success? Like you're just having a hard time adjusting to it type thing? Yeah, so cup and handle. It's easier if I just draw it. So it's basically just like a breakout, and you kind of get like a cup like this, and then you get a consolidation like this, and then like that. So what I'm seeing here is the cup, and then looking for the breakout above those highs. Okay, so like you're letting the ego take control. So in general here, right, the advice to me or from me would be to optimize for freedom, not to optimize for P&L, right? You're clearly able to make enough decisions to be profitable in your time frame, but maybe you're wasting like more time or you're actually like harming yourself, right, doing that. So I would look at it from like a factual perspective. All the evidence you have is that when you spend more time trading, you actually make less money and you build up more stress. Generally not a winning combo, right, of pros. So I would think about that, right? Talk about this a little bit, but the OGs, people have been with DTR for a long time. You guys will remember that I used to stream like from 9 to 4, and a lot of it would have like was honestly just like ego of like, yeah, I need all the action, I need all this kind of stuff. And then one weekend I spent the time actually analyzing my trading, and I realized that my decision fatigue right after, we'll say, 11 or 11:30 really starts to impact my ability to make good decisions and to make money. So why not just go like enjoy my life and do something fun and actually get like the rewards and the benefits of my trading, instead of hoping that like, oh, one day I'm going to feel rich and I'm going to want to start to do cool things. Why not just start to do those things right away, or like live the way that I would like, right? So for me, it's not about spending money in those situations. It's not about that. I mean, not to like a crazy extent, but it's about going out and enjoying myself. So like for me, when my trading day finishes or when my trading day kind of ends, and I have a bit of time, like I go grab a cup of coffee, right? Like I go for a little walk with the dog, grab a cup of coffee, and then walk back and like use that as my transition into like freedom, I call it, right? So I'll use that walk to clear my head. Exercise the dog, right? Kind of get some more caffeine in me, get me a little bit of like a calm down, cool down, right? If that makes sense, right? So just get away from like trading brain to human brain. And then, and then I go exercise, I go for a hike, I go for a bike ride. I try to do something fun. And that generally for me makes it easier for me to be fresh tomorrow, right? Maintain mental capital, do whatever. And that puts me in a lot better of a situation, a lot better of a mood. And then the feeling of like actually stacking up those those green days actually makes a lot bigger of a difference. Yeah, great spot. Sorry, Stephen. Oh, maybe this could be something here. I'm a little bit still skeptical because we've seen just such unenthusiastic price action here so far. So base expectation here is like fake out or failure until proven otherwise. The other thing is that I can't shake the feeling that price action is still kind of setting up just like yesterday's type PA. So I would like to see a really aggressive bearish failure here. So probably would like to more view this on the longer time frames just to get a slightly better, like more trust, I would say, in the signal. But I don't think you're wrong. That 3-min, good enough. But I think based on the context that I have here today, I want to pass on that burden of confirmation, or at least buy myself time to make this decision. So I would rather catch the middle of this than try to like bottom tick this, because I think trying to bottom tick this here today is just screaming to get faked out. And I have no evidence, right, effectively for the last almost hour, right, of trading that the market's going to give me any reasonable follow through, right? Like the range for the last hour is not even 70 points. So for me to think that I'm going to get a move back up to high a day, I don't know if I have that enthusiasm in play here. I don't think I'm confident enough to think that we've gotten that personality change yet. So again, I think today, for now, is still setting up as a session where I want to spend more energy talking myself out of trades than into trades. And I'd rather be too cautious than too aggressive. Well, I think to a certain extent, Market Miner, we're looking at things the same way. I think that there's that capitulation type move that's still potentially setting up from bears, which I don't think we've gotten yet. Is that a double increase in here? 5.5, no, just a little bit less. So I'm still gonna be very, very patient. Like I would have, I wouldn't have clearly needed to have taken this trade here yet. And arguably if I did, I probably would have gotten stopped out there on that pullback. And I would have just gotten stopped out now, even if this, if I didn't buy that first pullback. So, I mean, I still feel pretty justified here so far in kind of waiting it out. I still feel like this is pretty low probability price action. And as much as I want to make it up to everyone to have a green day here today, I don't feel like we're getting like high probability environments right now. So I need to be in my second most profitable position at the moment. Yeah, and cash is my second most profitable one, James. Absolutely. Can't lose money sitting on hands. Honestly, I think we did such a good job not chasing this. Like this breakdown, this 948 breakdown. I think in itself, that's a pretty good win. Yeah, I'm not super convinced it's going to happen, Ajay. To be honest with you. Like, how many times have Bears had a chance to like show us enthusiasm and then they just drop the ball, right? Yeah, we'll see about that. Yeah, no, I don't think it's worth chasing any of this, right? We've not seen really a smooth move all day. So that blue line there for me, Ty, was just what I wanted to see price action break and hold under. So I just wanted to see it break and hold under that blue line. So if I had the appropriate confirmation, then yeah, we would have definitely gotten a little bit closer there to an entry. But for now today, I wouldn't say it's even really gotten close. And yeah, Nick, I agree. This is not, I don't think this is a day where I would have made any money here yet. So all things considered, pretty happy to have been sitting on hands. No, I wouldn't say that it's lower risk. In that situation, I would say both are the same amount. Both the aggressive and the pullback. If we get like a consistent string of those types of conditions, then maybe we could go like using the fake out technique, right? Which could potentially be in play, but no, I don't see a discernible difference in the aggressive or pullback technique for like win rates. I'm guessing you mean this one here, Ajay. 942. This one? Oh. Well, I think just the idea of seeing it go green to red, right, is what we wanted to see here. So this in itself, like this 939, wasn't a fake out above, right, our potential breakout there at 936. So if we're going to be trading that opening range fake out, we need to see that fake out above that bullish candle, which we didn't see in that scenario. So no like no low vol fake out effectively to trigger this as a confirmation. Had this candle looked like a wick like that, yeah, now we're talking, right? Because it gives you a little fake out above the highs. You've got information that bulls are trapped. We didn't get that trap. It was an inside bar and then a crack relative versus the setup that you had there that you sent me yesterday. I'm just going to bring it up. Right, is on your candle that you had your setup. So this is yesterday's price action, and you did this on, I think, on CL. So this was your setup here. Right, the difference between that is on this candle, you had your fake out higher, right? So you had that bearish failure, and then you had that increasing volume, and then you had that crack through. So this for me still was the better entry there for you yesterday, because that for me is the confirmation that that candle has failed. But at least you had that fake out higher. Whereas on NQ, we never got that same fake out higher. So slightly different market structure, albeit very similar. It's the difference of 5 cents or 5 ticks, but that for us is what creates the active setup. So really good question. Hopefully the difference there makes sense, right? Because it's a very similar structure to the setup you took yesterday. And yeah, hope you don't mind I brought up your trade, but I figured it was a good example. Yeah, I mean, this is a snooze market, absolutely. Okay, perfect, yeah. I mean, hard to complain about sharing a winning trade, right? Yeah, I mean, so I think it's almost time to walk away here. This is a snooze fest. I wonder if we get a pretty nice bump in the VIX tomorrow. Yeah, so the midpoint of the opening range, I wouldn't necessarily use that as an entry point. I would use that as a stop loss technique for the opening range here. Now, the midpoint we talked about as an entry target when we would do the mean reversion, right? So when we did the mean reversion setups, we talked about using the midpoint there as our entry target and then stop loss at the high of the opening range. But that's not something we've really done for a long time. So for me, not something that I would really consider. Maybe that's something that we look into a little bit more as we build out this one min strategy that we've been talking about here a little bit. Because based on like my early looks here, the opening range, the high of the opening range and the low of the opening range would be our most logical stop loss. And on the one min, most of the time we should be getting opening ranges that allow us to get that, one contract or more. And that could potentially be a little bit of an entry target, but no problems. The other reality there, right, is that it absolutely could work as an entry technique, because what it does is it gives you something that's repeatable, right? So the midpoint of the opening range is going to be something that you can work backwards towards each and every time. It's going to spit out for you a very specific price. So I don't think that it necessarily couldn't work, or that it wouldn't work, or that it couldn't be a successful entry technique. And yeah, like I think it would match a lot of like my core philosophies. I just don't think I have need to deploy it or like figure out a way to use it. But yeah, any technique that you can get towards like a consistent entry price and a consistent entry technique, that could work for sure. Yeah, and this would have been a very frustrating day to have been chopped about in, because you've been chopped about on buys, on sells, on whatever, right? So like you take a trade short and then you get a setup long, and that one would stop you out too. So you'd lose money in both directions. And those are the most frustrating trading days. So really easy, I think, to have gone on tilt here today and basically just gotten crushed in both directions. So a pretty good proactive day, all things considered. Boring, but that's the way it goes sometimes. Yeah, again, like we haven't seen price action break away from this range for now an hour. I would be surprised if it does. So I'm not. Yeah, I think the probability of getting a setup here are very, very low. Or at least one that I would be comfortable with, are very, very low. Everything we've seen here so far today is not indicative of a high momentum market, right? Or even like a normal momentum. This is a complete lack of it. So even if I do get a setup, my base assumption would be fake out versus continuation. And so now if I have to like galaxy brain a trade to put it together, that probably isn't a trade I should be taking. Like what my objective is to catch the easiest trade of the day, I would say in general. Um, hard to say if we're actually going to get that easy move. Yeah, volume does suck. So judge it here based off of the 1 hour time frame. It is a little bit bigger than what it was yesterday and on Friday, but nothing crazy. We're kind of like, I would say, just traditionally average here today, but nothing of any level of enthusiasm. Yeah, tomorrow might be really similar to this going into FOMC. We might get a little bit of a positioning trade here. We've had a bit of luck last couple FOMC Wednesdays. Hey, nice work, Mark. Yeah, this is just pure trop today. So, I got no reason to trade this garbage. Yeah, and I'm not interested in CL to the downside, right? It's a 3-for-3 conditions here. So I'm looking for trending price action to continue higher. I can't look for reversals. That's counter trend. We've already seen a bearish signal here fail very aggressively. So base expectation is either consolidate, right, or break out higher. Oh, no, it's no worries, Nick. You don't have to apologize. But no, I just, yeah, based on the trend of the market, I'm not interested in riding this to the downside, or at least for me, it's low probability. Today is really, really slow, yeah. And again, it's kind of like a little bit of a super greens mix of news, right? We've got pretty important Fed decision there tomorrow. We've got pretty important earnings. We've got pretty important tariffs. We've got pretty important wars going on. Like there's a lot of stuff that needs to all kind of line up for things to be smooth again. And we might just have to get out of the get those things over and done with, right? To create that fraction. So I don't think I'm gonna get any action today. It really does feel like it's setting up for that exact same fake out candle as yesterday. Yeah, same here, Mark. Not worth it. Sounds good, Kiki. Hopefully you had a nice, calm, and chilled day. And not good enough confirmations here. Now we're looking for a crack under that, right? And again, if it's just going to be fake out grind, fake out grind, fake out grind. Yeah, problem with ES though is just my target here. I'm so close. I won't be able to get a very reasonable move. Not super expectant that I'm going to get smooth PA regardless. So even though things are setting up, or like potentially could be setting up, still doesn't feel very high conviction. Again, I can't shake this feeling of getting a similar type of PA. If we can hold under 420, then we could target 410 potentially on ES. Again, still not super expectant that this is going to be the smoothest. Let's see. Yeah, let's watch this 20 seconds. It does. This feels so much like that potential capitulation. It closed 419.75. NQ closed. We could probably target 5 or 400 here. Yet I still think this is going to be a fake out of some context. Kind of a weird sensation because, yeah, I do have setups here to the downside, right? Theoretically. But everything in my gut, I guess, if you want to describe it as that, is telling me that my bear setup is going to be wrong. Like what I'm, I guess, like fighting through, or like the question that I can't seem to answer is why now, right? Like why is the breakdown happening now? Why is that the volume now? That I seemingly think that's the thing that's giving me a little bit of a hiccup, or like a little bit of pause. There's nothing about this, like from a technical perspective, that tells me I shouldn't be interested. Just from a, like what I think I've seen from the market here so far, tells me I shouldn't be interested. Or at the very least, that chasing this isn't going to work. Oh, my cup of coffee is in like the most dangerous spot. Okay. I think we're not going to be struggling for risk reward here. Let's see what the aggressive is. Okay, I mean, aggressive could still be in play. Pullback could still be in play. Pullback, yeah, I would like to see a retest of the previous low. All inside bar. Again, like, if it's enthusiastic, why are we not seeing enthusiasm? Why does it look like it's playing out just like this? Like, same bullshit. or like same slow consolidation. It's our first sign of separation, or our first sign of a breakout, and then it stalls at its first attempt. Don't like that. Yeah, so stop would have to be 23,550. And keep an eye out for 538 on NQ. I got that on my other screen here. Just watching that carefully. Again, not in a huge rush to make a decision here, but I do have a setup, short setup. I mean, I feel like I've addressed this a little bit here already today, but I don't see any difference between the pullback and the aggressive technique from a risk perspective. But based on today's context, right, if it pulls into 538, I'm not exactly pulling the trigger right away. I want to basically assume that it's going to fail first, and then basically click submit on the proven otherwise. The thing that would tell me is like the thing that probably concerns me the most, right, about just that breakout. It's the same thing why I the back of my mind, it's telling me that it's potentially a capitulation candle versus a continuation candle. It's because we pretty much got the exact same thing yesterday, and then price stalled, right, and potentially even reversed off of that price at about the same time. So historically, at about 11, right, you tend to not make a new low of day or a new high of day very often. That tends to have already been made. So it's more the time of day versus the pullback techniques that would force me to slow down a little bit, right? Historically, you're probably not going to be rewarded for aggression. And then once you're in that zone, well, we've already seen price action be very, very slow. We're worried about that being a potential capitulation candle. So you want to buy yourself as much time as reasonably possible to make that decision. So, like, I've got everything set up. I've got everything good to go, but my hands are crossed, right? And all I'm doing here is watching price action. I've got everything set up. We'll see if it wants to cooperate here. But I'm watching for, honestly, like a fuck you rejection, for lack of a better term. Like, I want it to look as if a girl is like throwing a drink in my face. Like, the rejection needs to be that aggressive. Yeah. It's never happened to me either, but I imagine it's quite demoralizing, right? So that's kind of what I'm going for here. Yeah, like it has to be really, really aggressive, right? Yeah. Ooh, that's a torture technique. Again, no reason to chase this yet. We've not missed out on anything. A little bit better. Nice. I don't know if you've seen those Hooters girls recently, Logan, but they went woke and broke. Not that I know from experience. Yeah. 400 retirees and John Gruden. Okay, maybe we'll be able to play this on the aggressive here. Yeah, 530 start or entry reference price would be 515. So it'd be one contract play. He had his office in the back of a Hooters. He was famous for that. What a legend. And the Tampa Bay Hooters, I think it was. We could still maybe play this. I just want to find a really tight risk reward here. Okay. Okay, so 523 targeting 400. And let's watch it pull back here gently. Too fast, way too fast. That was like a big gulp all the way up. I want to be buying on those explosions higher. That makes me feel like it's going to be a fake out. Again, buying myself time here, buying myself time. I base expectation is this ends up faking out above 23. I'm being very patient here, not really looking for an entry yet. just the violence of those bounces off of 510 didn't feel good, put it that way. It's kind of where we've seen that aggressive bounce happen before. Let's see if it happens again. Still same setup, right? 523 stop loss. Okay, maybe we could do something like this. 521 stop. Well, 520. Reference price 508. Again, it bouncing too quickly off of those lows, right? It's giving me elevator up, not elevator down. And this doesn't kill me here yet. And I'm just trying to find the tightest risk reward I possibly can. I'd like to do this, like a 515. Reference price 507. That would be epic. Otherwise, we're back looking at this variant. Yeah, fair. Not exactly a tremendous amount of movement here. Yep, good decision, team. Good decision. Ooh. Yep, I mean, the fake out did happen. You kind of nailed it. Now let's see if this is where it wants to break down. So this would be the fake out entry technique. Stop loss 525.50. And then you're looking for an entry here off that rejection. All right, guys. So I'm in 520.50 on the dot. 2 contracts. I'm risking like $100 here. A little bit more. Okay, I got stopped out. I'm going to try that again, potentially. Minus 180 on that. Maybe not. See, now it kind of feels like it's that reversal. Okay, I mean, I really think this is setting up the same way as it did yesterday. Wrong one. Now we're looking at a 523 stop loss. And you're looking for a something like this. Okay, maybe not. That little fake out was ruthless. Kind of looking at it, I think, with the stop loss at low of day, if I'm going to play this reversal. I think that's the most logical spot. Nice work, James. Well, I'm not thinking about a reference price here yet because I'm not ready to click submit. I'm still just doing analysis. So I don't have an active setup here or an active trade that I'm looking at. So no reference price. Yes, there's a Discord chat for the premium members, James. I mean, I think I'm back to looking at NQ here to the downside. We're looking at a 414 stop loss. Reference price would be about 500, would call it. We can do this even. Yeah, I'd go 515 stop, 515. Okay, guys, I'm in 503 on the dot, 503 on the dot, 2 contract stop loss, 515. Sorry, 503.25. 505.50. Sorry, 505.50 entry price. I'm not sure why I couldn't say that properly. All right, let's see if this thing can flush. We're looking for it to hold under 500, right? That's kind of our criteria that we'd like to see. Ideally further than that. The longer it takes at 500, the less confidence I'm going to have that it's going to run. Although I don't like this pullback into 504. Feels kind of shady. Okay, here it goes. Here it goes. Let's see if this can keep cracking. Target is 400. Right? So we broke down through 23.5. Next target's right here. 23.4 right here. Now, I don't think I'm going to hold it for that long because it's not giving me an element of enthusiasm that I would like. Well, let's make sure here. Like today is not a day to get greedy, right? Absolutely not a day to get greedy. Let's even crack. Keep going. Yeah, James, I know what my target is. I'm not really interested in yesterday's lows. My target is what my target is. That's part of my process. Not really looking for more or new information here or that running commentary. I'm going to stick to my plan and not look at anything else. I've back tested my strategy based on my rules and my targets. That's the only thing I care about. And this reaction's suboptimal for sure. Well, let's see. I don't want to see it pull back too much more. It's been crack here. Now we need the very aggressive breakdown. The only reason, guys, I was willing to survive that pullback is because it didn't make a lower low first, right? So no indication of bearish failure, just weak bulls trying to reclaim control there in the short term. So now let's see if this thing can crack and break down under 490. It might be struggling just a little bit again. There's that fake out lower now, which is a bit more concerning. All right, let's see if it can hold. Trying to get that 490 to crack, right? That's what we need to see, and we need to see it with enthusiasm. It's a little bit better. Although instant bounce back, I don't like. We want to see it to start kind of flushing, right? Like it's got to start moving here. Otherwise, I'm taking my 600 bucks and I'm running. Okay, last chance saloon here. Keep going, keep going. You're close. Okay, watch for the flush here, team. Watch for the flush. Hold under 90, please. Close above 90, guys. I'm clicking exit. All right, that's sort of my Alamo here. Okay, closed under. So now let's even keep breaking down. A bit of a shame we got faked out of this on the first attempt, but hey, it's working out well, all things considered. All right, so let's see if this thing's still got a bit more legs here for us. Come on. Okay, watch here, team. Watch here. This thing's starting to move. Okay, keep pushing, keep pushing. Come on. It's not patience, it's following my plan and sticking to my rules. It's got nothing to do with that, right? I'm not being patient, I'm being deliberate. So I know what I'm looking for and I know what I'm waiting for, right? So once I'm in a trade post entry, I need 2 out of 3 things to continue to hold on to my position. I need a strong candle shape, I need to hold lower lows, and I need increasing volume. In this circumstance, I got 3 out of 3 things. So everything post entry is telling me that my idea is correct. So it's got nothing to do with patience, it's just being deliberate. Patience in trading is a very misunderstood term. Hard to be patient when you don't know what you're looking for. It's easy to be deliberate when you're being specific in your trading plan. Okay, see if this thing can keep cracking here. I would love to see it get under 70. I'm a little bit worried that we're not going to have as much enthusiasm or as much follow through on this as I would like. And I hate how it's stalling every 10 points. That's pretty annoying. Again, this candle is not giving me any reason to get out. So I'm still going to trust it for a little bit. But this move is taking a little bit longer than I would have expected so far. Hey, there it goes. There it goes. See if we can keep cracking. Who's in this with me? Anyone? Anyone fighting this with me? Let's go, team. Good job. Okay, so let's see if this thing can keep breaking down, but we're in really good shape. I'm going to look to start thinking about closing here pretty soon, guys. Next decent flush, I'm going to look to get out, okay? So hopefully that's clear for everyone. Let's go. Come on. Come on. Again, I'm worried about this capitulation, right? Potentially being capitulation. Yeah, John, this is just a volume moving average. Again, guys, if you have any questions about my chart setup, please watch the videos on the Start Here channel. They break down those things in a lot of detail and at a much more appropriate time to ask those questions when I'm literally in the middle of a trade, managing thousands and thousands of dollars. So please be prepared, understand what you need. All the information can be found for you on the Discord. And please don't pull my energy away when I'm in the middle of a trade. It's extremely unfair. Nice work, John. Nice work, Corinna. So, like, everyone who's watching here, team, your job is to come prepared and understand the basics of what we're doing. My job here is to show you what I'm doing and help you make money. But I can only do that if you come prepared and you basically match that same level of intensity. Nice work, Eric. So all the information you guys need, it's in the Start Here channel of the Discord. If you're here on trial, please use those resources. It's going to make you a lot better of a trader, and it's going to allow you to catch these trades with a lot more confidence. Well, let's see if this thing can keep breaking down here for us. Again, we survived another worst case scenario. So let's see if it's got the legs, right? We're trying to look for that next big flush lower. That's our exit signal. Let's see if we can find it. I reckon we have a chance for a decent flush here through that 50. Let's see if we can get it. And back to 70, which I don't like. Hmm. This pullback kind of sucks. Come on. Again, worried about this being the capitulation, right? For sure is a concern here now. Terrible, terrible pullback. Again, trying to give it as much time as I possibly can to not make a panic decision. But yeah, feeling maybe a little bit dumb for not closing there at that 60 handle. Yeah, so we need to see this thing flush down pretty quick, right? Because this is theoretically a reason to get out. Now I just want to try to get out as our PNL is increasing at the best price we possibly can, all things considered. So let's see if we can get down into the 70s again. But yeah, biggest fear is that this red candle was capitulation, not continuation. So let's see if we can find a reasonable exit here. Okay, this is going to be our chance, team. This is going to be our chance. So watch carefully here. Come on, one little baby flush. Okay, watching very closely. Not the right time, James. I'm trying to find my exit. Come on, don't do this to me right now. Okay, we're watching here, guys. We're watching here like a hawk, right? Like a hawk. Okay, I am out. I am out. 470.50. 470.50. All out. 470.50. Well done, team. Nice green day here. Let's go. No, I would not consider pyramiding in on a pullback and continuation. This candle tells me I need to get out of this trade, right? So it tells me that my thesis is no longer correct. When we talked about, okay, post entry, I'm looking for three things: strong candle shape, strong volume profile, holds lower lows. This candle did none of those, right? 0 for 3. So I've got no reason to think that my idea is now correct, and I need to get out of this position before it reverses against me. So no, I would not pyramid there. That would be a disaster waiting to happen. Love that, Aj. How'd your day go? Good day? Good, good. Everyone feeling good after that? Yeah? We had to be a little bit focused there at the end. But guys, what a close, right? What a close. Within a point, right, of the low. So perfect, right? We didn't panic. We didn't do anything stupid. It's a really good trading day. That's a really good trading day, team. Right? So we control the variables we can't control and make good decisions. Bit unlucky that we got faked out on that first trade, because that would have been an extra 2K. But you know what? If a trade is strong, it'll give you more than one chance to enter, and you still make plenty of money here today. So John, man, what the fuck? Why reward bad habits? If you close your trade, the point isn't now to chase it and get back in. It's to study why you felt like you needed to close that trade so you can solve that problem. You're just reinforcing bad habits here, man. That's unacceptable. Like, make it easy for yourself, right? Close a trade. You're not going to have FOMO. The fuck you doing sitting at your desk watching? You're making it harder for yourself to actually do what you say you're going to do. Walk away. Go take the rest of the day off. Why? Like, I don't understand why we choose to say, hey, I want to get better at this, and then put myself in situations where I'm constantly getting tested and screwing up. Not a winning combo. There's nothing worse. There's nothing more dangerous than a trade where you broke your rules and made money, because you get addicted to the dopamine rush and you remember that and you don't remember your processes and your rules. Yeah, not happy with that, John. Not happy with that at all. So I did try to enter earlier, right? Ant-Man Gaming, but I got faked out on that entry, right? So I tried to play like this initial breakdown here. I got faked out on that entry on this candle, and then played the secondary breakdown from this 11:15. So I got in after this candle, got stopped out here at this, we'll say 35 or whatever it was, faked out, and then got in here at 11:15. So the first loss I took on that was like 180 bucks. And then the next win was like 1,400. Good, Brady, good. So I think in general, like, it's a progression, right? No, I didn't pull out early. I got stopped out, right? So my stop loss was at 535. It went all the way to 541. It stopped me out at 535, and then I jumped back in, right? Once it gave me another setup. So once that increasing outlier volume returned, I was able to play the same setup. So no, I didn't pull out early. That is a very unfair assessment. So Ajay, right? When it comes to holding out trades for longer or for holding out for larger wins, it's a tolerance thing, right? You got to build up that buffer of basically ability to close as your P&L is increasing. The more and more you do that and you build up confidence doing that, then you're going to build up a little bit of a P&L buffer, right? A little bit of a drawdown buffer, and you're going to put together a little bit of money in your bank account. All of a sudden, now you're going to be a little bit more calm, and the dopamine around being in positions isn't going to create that stress and anxiety. So the stage that you're at here right now, closing there at that 70 maybe wasn't the best decision from a technical perspective, but you need to learn how to control and manage that dopamine to be able to execute things properly from a technical perspective. So that for me, right, is not a bad decision whatsoever. Now the thing to focus on, right, is why you felt like that was creating that anxiety for you or that extra stress and pressure, and how you can basically learn from that and what you're going to do next time that pressure returns, right? So you have a really good data point for yourself here now. In your journal, the note should be, okay, felt price was battling around 80, told myself that the next move down, I'll get out despite the candle structure being really good. So now, right, it's going to be, okay, next time I see that price is struggling at this level, I'm going to judge if the price structure or the candle structure is giving me those 2 out of 3 things or better. And if it is, I'm going to look to get out on a breakdown under the low of that candle or above the high of that candle, right, if I'm bullish. And then you can keep moving the goalposts, right, further and further and further, and continue to build up that tolerance. So then instead of closing right at that 70 handle, you look to close on a breakdown under that previous low, and then you keep building up that tolerance and keep building up that structure. Does that make sense? I'm all in, all out, James. No, that's fine, Ghost. We should all get out of here in a few minutes. We'll have time. All right, team. Final call for questions here. Final call for questions. I appreciate that, Rich. Good day. No complaints. 1280 on the day. Like, I can't really complain about that. All right, team. Any other questions here? Nice work. Oh, I mean, I got $5 on you here. So next beer's on me. Inside the trading docs of the Discord, there's a template. You can use that. There's also like a 10-minute long video that teaches you how to fill that in. Again, in the how to trade with DTR and start here section, there is a chapter or a segment on how to journal your trades. So again, I would recommend that everyone goes through all that content and all those videos, as it's not there by accident, right? It's there because I believe it gives you all the information you need to be able to best replicate this strategy and actually learn the technique that you're trying to trade. Just showing up, guys, it's not how you're going to accomplish your objectives. There has to be a little bit more work to it than that. All right, team. So final call for questions here. Final call for questions. But nice to be back above all-time highs. And yeah, really good close, team. Really good close, all things considered. Look, I say this all the time, right? That there's a certain level of intensity and focus that's required when you're trading. And there's a certain element, right, that requires like more chill, more not. When I'm trading, it takes every ounce of my energy and every ounce of my focus to be able to stick to my process and stick to my rules. So there's a level of intensity around that, right? That's different than when I'm not in a position. So it's just figuring out how to basically work into that and to go from there. And you're going to have plenty of information. All right, guys, I got to jump off here because I got to take the dog for a quick bathroom break before some one-on-ones here this afternoon. So have yourselves all a great rest of the day. We'll be back at it again here tomorrow. And yeah, we keep kind of compounding on what's been a great start here to the week. So definitely made up for a very, I don't know, no trades there yesterday, right? But really good day here today. We had to wait a little bit to get it to come together. But all things considered, pretty stoked we did. So have yourselves all a great rest of the day, and I'll see you tomorrow.